Yo, it's your boy Ethereal with Poopy Pants, aka Shaggy the Chef. Today, we're gonna be having a spooky, scary Saturday. Let's get into it.
Amen. When I die, I'ma go to Snow Bunny Heaven. Snow Bunny Heaven.
I will skip to where the one start.
Where the bumps are.
Okay.
That's when most people come back. Alright.
Thinking about this story from my past always reminds me that I wasn't exactly the most stable person in my mid-20s. I had just gotten out of college with a degree in kinesiotherapy, but after several months of a fruitless search for a job that was actually in my field, I settled for a job in a waxing salon. I only did it because I was out of time and needed to get some kind of income before I went completely broke. But it was a completely dead-end job in the worst part of town. The area was known for robberies and gang activity and generally high crime rates, and we saw our fair share of that from the salon. Every time I went into work, the rotating cast of junkies that would constantly linger outside would harass me for money or try to solicit me for a free wax or something, which is a great way to start the day in a good mood. Unsurprisingly, I hated my life before long. For some reason, the salon was wildly popular with the residents of the neighborhood. There was no wonder why it was understaffed. The place always reeked, yet the customers never seemed to mind. Probably because they didn't notice it over their own stench. They were the most disgusting sort of people that you can imagine having to work on. None of them seemed to care about personal hygiene, which inevitably scared off 90% of the employees. It was like a salon for all the bums, lards, junkies, and lowlives in the hood to hang out at. I stuck it out for a few months though, and the longer I was there, the more I hated myself and everyone around me. Things came to a boiling point around the beginning of February, that time of the year right before Valentine's Day, when everybody wants to get a wax. It made the salon ridiculously busy, and since I was the newest hire, I got stuck with most of the work. For days on end, I didn't get a moment to breathe between clients. Yet I still ended up behind having to stay late with no overtime pay while my boss hid in her office. Every time they screwed me over, I got closer and closer to a full-on mental breakdown, but I was doing everything in my power to keep it together. But then, one day, just a few days before Valentine's Day, it was time to call up an appointment for a man named Homer.
Homer, we're ready for you.
At first, there was no response, and for a moment I thought they hadn't shown up and I might just get ahead of schedule. But of course that wasn't the case. The largest, hairiest man I've ever seen walked in and smiled at me, spiking my blood pressure even higher than it already was. I knew it would easily take me the rest of my shift just to wax this guy depending on what he asked for, and I was too busy to deal with that. Unfortunately, I had no choice.
What kind of wax will you be having today, sir?
A full body wax, please.
Are you sure?
Did I stutter? Did I say I wanted a Brazilian wax? Did I request a BBL? Yes, I'm sure! Now put some pep in your step, little lady. I don't have all day.
Okay then, right this way, sir.
I kept my cool and let him into the salon room in the back. There, I gave him the usual speech about undressing and getting comfortable, where I was very glad that he left his underwear on. I didn't waste any time getting to work. As soon as he laid down on the table, I smeared the liquid wax on his thick, matted body hair, placed the tape over top of it, then let it rip.
Ah! Slow down, lady, that hurt!
I cracked a little smile at how quickly he went from a big, tough guy to a screaming little baby, but I didn't let him see it. I also, of course, didn't slow down.
I'm sorry, sir, but that was just 1 out of 1,000. You've still got 999 more to go.
What?
998?
Stop!
No can do, mister. I've got a lot of work to do, and I'm not going to spend 1 more minute than I have to with you.
Screw you!
What was that?
Ah! I'm sorry. Just hold on, please. Something's not right.
Oh, so you think you can tell me how to do my job, is that right?
No. Something just doesn't feel right.
Why don't you just let the professional handle their business?
No! Isn't there a less painful way to do this?
Nope, you're the one who signed up for a full body wax, remember?
I poured all my pent-up frustration into ripping out that guy's body hair. Honestly, I don't think I ever worked faster. Something about the pain I was inflicting upon him was extremely motivating, even cathartic. By the time I was halfway through, the big man was sobbing like a lost child, but no matter how much he whimpered and screamed and begged me to stop, I told him to suck it up and kept going. Actually, his crying made me laugh. The more pathetic his pain, the funnier I found the whole situation. I don't think I ever enjoyed a single day at that job, but I did enjoy working at home. About 45 minutes later, we were done. I cleaned the pile of discarded tape and left Homer in the room to get dressed while I went out to the waiting room to call up my next client. However, right as I walked out the door, my boss was there in my face, glaring at me like I just killed somebody. She looked behind me and saw Homer writhing around the table, looking like a shriveled up, hairless chihuahua. She started freaking out and began apologizing profusely, offering him some sort of compensation before finally escorting him out the door. After he limped away, she went back into the room and rummaged through my setup to see why the appointment turned out that way. And that's when she came to me with a huge bottle of Gorilla Glue, asking me if I had used it on Homer. The funny thing is, I don't remember bringing that into work, but when I think about it, it makes sense. I must have been in a really bad mood and thought it would be a good idea, but apparently waxing somebody with industrial-grade adhesive was not humane. They fired me that day, which I wasn't really pressed about. My life, my career, my mental stability have gotten much better now that I'm rid of that place. But I'm still surprised Homer never sued us. I'm just glad he never decided to press charges against me either. As I look back and reflect on that incident, I always wonder what became of him, and if he ever recovered from the damages. But the one thing I'll never know is if he ever got some for Valentine's Day.
Last one, bro.
Family in this beautiful meal. Please bless over us and protect over us.
I used to frequent this gym a lot towards the end of last year. I needed my body to be in the right condition for the big year I was planning on having, and I wanted to be ahead of the curve. So instead of waiting until January, I got the jump on the New Year's resolutions and started working out around the end of November. I hadn't gone to the gym in a while, but I knew how it usually went with the guys there. I don't like getting catcalled and stared at constantly, so I would always work out late at night. However, there was one guy who I didn't mind too much when he catcalled me. I know that's a bad thing to admit, but I liked him. He wasn't the definition of handsome to most people, but to me, he was the sort of guy that I found attractive for some reason. We said hi to each other every night, as we were both consistently going around the same time. He then did my on the same time, ended up working out together. One thing led to another, and suddenly, I was going on dates with him and bringing him home to my parents. My parents and friends all said the same thing, that he looked like some kind of Frankenstein. At the time, I acted super offended on his behalf. I always thought he was different from the other guys I dated in the past. For instance, he used to do this thing every time we were together, where he'd tell me to hold out my ring finger, then he'd grab it really tight and say, "Together forever," in that really deep voice of his. Of course I would respond back with,
Together forever.
and he'd let go. When it came close to New Year's, he invited me over to his house for a dinner party to meet his family. It seemed important to him, so I agreed. Unfortunately, when I got there, the romantic fantasy I was deluding myself with started to fall apart. I knocked on the door and my boyfriend answered, bringing me inside. The first thing I noticed was that the house smelled horrible. I wanted to throw up so bad, but was somehow able to hold my composure. The next room over was the kitchen. The lights were off, but I could see his father sitting at the table hunched over, slack-jawed and drooling. Every few seconds, his neck would twitch, but other than that, he was motionless, his lifeless eyes just staring off into space. And his younger son was no different. He stood in the corner with his back to us, staring intently at the old-fashioned clock, waiting for the New Year countdown. I noticed that the clock was several hours off, but I wasn't sure if any of them knew. I could also see his mother by the sink, and for some ungodly reason, she was washing the family cat, and the cat was just as spaced out as the rest of them, but somehow, it was the most normal-looking living thing in the household. Seeing the whole family together and realizing just how distorted their features were made me sick to my stomach. What all my friends were saying this whole time finally clicked in my head. They all looked like relatives of that weird, malformed brute from the Goonies. I reluctantly took my seat at the table and hoped the night would go better. My boyfriend went to fix me some food by the kitchen counter, leaving me to sit awkwardly with his father. With 2 hours left until midnight, I tried to make small talk with him.
You have a wonderful house. What do you do for work? Don't want to talk, huh? I understand. So, how'd you meet your wife?
I couldn't get a word out of that man. I'm not even sure he knew I was there. I shivered in fear and stopped trying to make conversation. After an eternity passed, my date came back with a plate of food. When he put it down in front of me, I couldn't help but gag as it was just a can of cat food on a crusty plate. I kindly rejected him, saying I wasn't feeling hungry and had lost my appetite. That's when he started yelling at me saying,
"What? My mom worked hard on cooking that for our New Year's party. You better eat it."
But it's just cat food. I can see the can on the counter.
He never yelled at me like that before. I was shaken up, but when I called him out on the cat food, he flipped out even more. He gave me this look on his face that a toddler would make when they didn't get what they wanted. What made things more disturbing was how he started to act like one too, grabbing a handful of the cat food and shoving it into his mouth. Seeing a fully grown adult act in such a manner was one of the most disturbing things I had ever seen. The next hour was really awkward. His mother came in from the kitchen to sit with us. I was hoping that she would be talkative, but she looked no less brain dead than her husband. We all sat there in complete silence, while all of them stared off into space, except for my date. He glared at me the entire time, unable to move on from being mad at me for not eating the slop I was offered. I checked my phone, and 12 a.m. had finally hit. It was officially New Year's. The mother stood up and kissed the father, but what made things all the more bizarre was when she hobbled over and kissed the little brother, and then my date. When I say kissed, I don't mean a simple peck on the cheek. It was a full-out kiss on the mouth. That's when I knew there was something seriously wrong, and I needed to get out of there as soon as possible. But before I could even stand, that giant, freakish man was leaning over me. He grabbed my ring finger in a vice grip and started chanting,
"Together forever, together forever, together forever."
And that's when I heard his family speak for the first time.
Together forever, together forever, together forever.
He started squeezing my finger so tight that I thought he might break it.
Ow, stop it, let me go!
Ow,
stop
stop
it,
it, let me go.
Shut up, let go of me!
Shut up, let go of me. Shut up, let go of me.
Stop it, why are you doing this? What's going on? Stop it, why are you doing this? What's going on?
I couldn't comprehend what was going on. All I remember was fighting against his grip like I was fighting for my life. When I finally got free, I bolted straight out of the door. It was snowing outside, but I didn't waste time putting my coat or shoes on. I kept running down the street until I was far enough away to be sure that I wasn't being followed. I then called an Uber and went home. I thought about calling the cops, but I had no idea what I'd even say to them. Since then, I ended up blocking his number and canceling my gym membership just so I could move on and forget all about it.
They didn't like her because she was an It's crazy. Sad. Alright, well, that's the end of the video. And all I gotta say is you know the tradition. And you know what happens at the end of the video.